Welcome back to the show. Right now, many people are still cleaning up after another round of powerful storms over the weekend. We found trees toppled on homes and cars and down power lines across much of the state, the Peach State. And the storm did kill a 56-year-old man in Banks County when a tree fell on his car while he was driving along the highway. Joining us more to talk about this is Keith Stellman. He is the meteorologist in charge at the National Weather Service in Peachtree City, friend of the show. Hey, Keith, how you doing?
Hey, good morning, Chesley.
All right. I'm doing pretty good. Talk to us about these storms that we had over the weekend.
Yeah, so it was just a situation where we had enough upper level energy and energy in the atmosphere that set us up for a pretty windy and gusty day with a strong line of storms came through.
There was a lot of trees toppled over. A lot of people probably thinking it was a tornado that moved through their area, but that's not what you guys were seeing, right?
So we went out and surveyed, and we started in Pickens County and worked. There was one particular storm that was a little bit stronger than most. It worked from Pickens County all the way to Banks County. It was actually part of the reason why we had the fatality in Banks, or part of that reason. What we found was there was about a mile to mile and a half wide swath of damage along that path from Pickens all the way to Banks. And it was part of, you can see it on radar, it was a pretty potent line of storms. What was happening was we were getting microbursts and downbursts to occur within that line as it was traversing east. And when those microbursts were occurring, it was causing like swaths of trees to go down and get snapped, much in the way that a EF1 tornado would look when you're on the ground.
Explain to us what a microburst is. I know a lot of folks out there saying microburst, tornado. What's the difference?
Sure. So there's a little more. There's wind. There's stronger winds off the surface, and they're feeding that line of storms as it's surging east from the west. So they're filling in the backside of this line of storms, and those winds are getting pulled down to the ground in spurts or like pulses. And when those winds get surged down to the ground, they hit the ground. It's an analogy or way you visualize it would be like taking a bucket of water and dumping it on the ground. And if you're underneath that point where that bucket of water is hitting the ground, that's what it looks like, but on a much bigger scale in the atmosphere.
And you get those trees toppling over, and yeah, for a lot of folks, residents, they're probably thinking, wow, a tornado moved through, but they're actually just wind damage from those microbursts.
A lot of microbursts they're causing a lot of tree damage.
We are now entering into a pattern where we're going to see some scattered thunderstorms almost each and every afternoon. The rest of this week, all the way to the weekend, could we see more of those microbursts, or are we free from that?
Well, it's going to depend. There's actually two different types of microbursts. There's a dry microburst. There's a wet microburst. As moist as the atmosphere is getting, if we get into an unstable situation where the atmosphere gets really unstable during the day, we set up the possibility for some wet microbursts, given how moist we're going to be. But I think the chances of seeing those are a lot less with this next round of afternoon and evening thunderstorms than what we saw last weekend.
Gotcha. I know you guys follow the Storm Prediction Center. They just put a level 1 threat for severe weather over us not long ago here. What are they seeing now with these storms that may pop up this afternoon?
More in line with the typical summertime stuff, and we do get the pulse, like severe thunderstorms, where we'll get an occasional low-end microburst, I'll say, or a wet downburst with these types of thunderstorms, and I think that's really the primary risk that we're going to see with these. So a tree or two down, but nothing like what we saw over the weekend.
Gotcha. I know the last time we talked about our severe weather season kind of stretching out a little longer than what we're used to. This would be more part of the summer type variety, as you mentioned, or is this a part of this severe season that's just kind of been stretched out?
Unfortunately, it just happens to be part of this severe season that we can't shake. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that typically the Bermuda High and our typical summertime pattern has set up by now in most summers, and it just hasn't at this point. And so we're still like teetering on that end of spring phase where we're still a little bit of jet energy, a little bit more energy in the atmosphere still over us because the ridge hasn't established yet. So as a result of that, we have a little bit more of a severe season.
Yeah. So you pick your poison, right? We have to deal with that, or that heat and the humidity.
Yeah. It's either highs in the 80s and some rain, or the heat and the humidity and dog days of summer.
Well, I always tell you, man, we really appreciate all that you guys do to help keep us safe. And I know we partner up trying to get the word out as far as any severe weather coming into the area. And then you guys go out and you have to check. Hey, real quick, one more question. When you guys go out, explain this again to people. What is it that you're looking for when you're looking for tornado damage?
So in a lot of sometimes it can be intertwined but look very confusing. When we go look for tornado damage, in fact, this most recent case, I surveyed extensively up near Lake Lanier. One of the things that stood out to me was when you start plotting the damage. Now, if you get away from this is my house, this is my neighbor's house, it looks like a tornado ripped through, and you start plotting the direction of those trees, and then I go the next street over and I start plotting the direction of those trees, you start to see a spreading out pattern. Sort of the way if you just look at your hand and spread your fingers, the trees were laid out in the direction that your fingers are facing. When you start plotting that information, and that sort of points back to a small microburst that occurred near some origin point, and you get the spreading out of those trees. In a tornado path, especially a stronger one, not a weaker tornado path, you'll see the trees actually point inward toward the center of the tornado path, so you get more of a convergent path in a tornado.
Gotcha. All right, again, appreciate what you do, Keith. Thanks for joining us today. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care. All right, remember the latest weather information updates. You can all get it right there on our streaming platform right here on 11Alive Plus. Of course, we have in-depth weather discussions, extended weather forecasts. Check us out, Weather Impact 24/7 right here on 11Alive Plus.